Hi, you're with Property Mythbusters. I'm Ken from Avvora Finance broker.
I'm Debra from Crave Property Advisory.
And I'm Gilmovich from Real Property Manager.
Right.
Well, we're here today for the next 10 minutes to discuss and debunk some of the misconceptions around the payment of commissions. Some like to use the word commissions. Some see commissions as a dirty word. Another way of looking at it is taking a fee for service.
Yeah, so there's a couple of different ways of the way commissions come into any service in the property transaction. One is via referrals. So where if I refer a service to Ken might pay me, but he wouldn't because he doesn't do that kind of thing, and that's good. Or the other way around. So
where the client doesn't pay for a service and the service provider is being remunerated by some other way.
In the back
So
pocket.
So obviously there are a lot of moving parts in putting a transaction together, and you have that team around you, and most of those are service providers. You've got the real estate agent, you've got the mortgage broker, you've got the buyer's agent.
Yep.
And then there's this kind of onflow of other service providers that tap in, solicitors, conveyancers,
builders,
building inspections,
property managers,
and so forth. So, as a client, as a customer, some of that isn't always transparent.
That's right.
Right? And we're just going to look at kind of the three of us as being service providers in the transaction, and have a look at exactly what is the duty of disclosure for such commissions, possibly also known as rebates. Sometimes rebates,
referral fees,
or referral fees are a part of that in any given transactions, and should the client be disclosed by law.
Okay. So from your perspective?
Yeah, look, as a broker, I think commissions, it depends on how they're handled, right? If they are upfront about the commission, not like, for example, if a referral fee or something was disclosed after the fact, it's probably not that great, but in the broking space, it's upfront. Everyone knows that we get paid a commission by the lender. So going into that arrangement, before anything starts, they already know that we're being remunerated from somewhere else. And then from moving forward, the client then has a choice to either work with a broker or go direct to a lender. So there's still benefits there, and I think it just needs to be transparent and disclosed. It gets a little bit murky and a little bit hard to determine, what is the true motive behind the service if it's not disclosed. Or like, for example, we disclose how much we get paid on commissions, and for myself, if a client was to ever ask me, can you give me a sheet on how much commissions you are actually getting paid by each lender, just to verify that the deals aren't going necessarily to the highest paying lender, I'm more than happy to disclose that, because to be honest, it's the last thing I look at. Once everything's settled, then I have to work out what the commissions are, and then that's when I look at the table, not the other way around. I don't believe that commissions are necessarily a bad thing. They can work quite well, and in the mortgage broking industry anyhow, it does improve competition, by having
and choice for the client.
And choice, exactly. So by having to pay that service, it makes it a little bit more exclusive to people who can afford the service, and also it's a highly regulated product. With home loans, there's not much that kind of goes under the radar. Like, everything is disclosed, regulated. There are ways to identify what actually happened quite easily with the amount of, we need to take file notes. So I don't know. I think by in commissions and referrals, I don't know. What are your thoughts about the commissions and referrals? Because I feel like if they're disclosed, like if I had a great property manager, and I mentioned I generally don't like receiving referrals.
Well, property managers fall under the same legislation as salespeople. So you'll generally find in the real estate world that we're governed by the Property Stock and Business Agents Act. That's the piece of legislation that governs licensees in charge. So if you're a licensee in charge of a business, or you're a certificate of registration holder working under a licensee, that law still applies to you. And so we've got a thing called Section 57 in the Property Stock and Business Agents Act, which is specifically is a duty disclosure around rebates, discounts, any benefit of discount, and commissions. And as an agent, as a property manager, but we're working still under the same rules, our disclosure is right at the start of the transaction. So it's right up front.
Yep. It
has to be in writing, and it's in the form of either an agency agreement to sell a property, if we're engaged to sell, or the management agency agreement to manage a property. Now, some of the commissions that could be paid to an agent during a transaction from a third party may involve, for example, a landlord taking out an insurance policy. Mm-hmm. Okay, where the insurance company pays a percentage of the actual premium, policy premium, for the introduction. It could be a energy or utility company connecting supply of energy or internet, broadband inside a rental property.
Yeah.
There's now these third-party companies that are engaged to do that as a service for tenants, and they pay per utility. So it can be a nice little earner, and we are talking probably about $5-10 per utility, but it all adds up.
Yeah, that's
because anyone moving into a property, probably about 5 or 6 things different need to be connected, and the agents gets a cut of that. But in saying that, we've always believed that yes, there should be a fee paid for an introductory service, and secondly, that is fully disclosed to the client at the start. Many years ago, where this came unstuck inside the property industry with strata managers, and there was a lot of things going on in strata land in relation to massive commissions being paid across insurance policies, because we're talking whole buildings getting insured to the tunes of millions and millions of dollars, whole strata plans, multi-units, where the insurance premiums could be in the thousands of dollars. We're talking potentially $20,000-$30,000, and the strata agent was getting a payment from that, as well as contract workers that are working on the actual buildings themselves. So gardeners, cleaners, maintenance, remedial works, you name it, and this was not disclosed.
Like strata managers, let's face it, do go through hell, so they deserve to be remunerated for it.
Rightly so, but they failed to disclose to the owners' corporation that this was actually going on. And so there was a huge slap on the wrist for the strata management industry to start full discllosures around commissions, rebates, and
so they just have to disclose it now.
Yeah, 100%, and that's not only legislation, that is now in the rules of conduct as well.
Yeah. Okay.
That must occur.
Okay. Well, commissions are a really, really hot topic from the a property advisor perspective, because my view is that no commissions should be involved when you're providing or when you're searching for a property for people. So it's a very murky part of this industry, and I'm talking in some cases, hundreds of thousands of dollars in commission. So if you're someone who says you're a property advisor and you're searching for a property for someone in the realm of, say, $3 million, a buyer might think that they're not paying for the service, but that advisor might be getting paid $120,000 in commission from the vendor. And so actually that advisor is technically being a real estate agent, not a buyer's agent. And so this is where a lot of people get ripped off, basically, because if you're not buying directly, you'll be paying more. So you're better off going through a proper buyer's agent if you're not going to operate by yourself. Because the buyer's agent...
And when you say proper buyer's agent, that is a buyer's agent representing the interests of the purchaser and not the developer.
That's right.
Yeah.
Someone who is independent, because... and this is the way I operate. I don't take commissions because I want to make sure that I can search from the full range of properties available on the market. So when you come to me and you say, I've got $3 million to spend, or I've got $300,000 to spend, I'm not going to say to you, oh, here's one I've got. I've shortlisted a range of the best kind of new developments, because there might be some existing property, so not a new property, that is cheaper, that's better for you, but you know, if you're a commission agent, that wouldn't be presented to the buyer because they're not getting the commission. So how can I explain that a little bit better?
Well, it's just everything revolves around transparency.
That's right.
Really. Upfront and transparent disclosure.
Yep.
And Ken and mortgage broking, that will be right at the start of the relationship.
Yeah, I think everyone who has used a broker knows, like, right at the start, because there's always concerns. I always get questions asked.
And not at the end of the transaction.
No, I mean, you know, if you're getting the service, especially getting into the technical side of, you know, the loan application and you know, structuring the loan and things like that, there's always that question about, you know, how am I going to be remunerated, or how the broker's going to be paid. So no, it's at the front. You know, we just say, look, we get paid by the lenders, and I think it's just that consistency, just knowing right at the start, that there is a commission paid,
and it's only fair, I think, that the client or customer knows that is going on, so they can make a decision for themselves that they feel going or engaging your services, that, you know, it's either a truly independent service or it's not. There is actually a commercial benefit going on.
There is a commercial benefit going on, but I think, and I think it's just the, like, going back to the example that Deb was talking about with the properties, you know, if, like, with the home loan, you know, the borrower can go direct to the lender, depending on which lender they go with, but some of the smaller lenders, you know, you can either get the same product through a broker or through the lender themselves. So regardless of which channel you go through, and I'm talking about, you know, you get the same fees, you get the same service, you get the same interest rate.
No,
you get
not the same service, because the bank's quite
well, you can always channel through and ask questions, but in terms of the facilities that you get, like the IT infrastructure and everything, it's not like, you know, you get put on a different, you know, service if you're introduced by a broker. So yeah, in that case, then, you know, I guess, and also it's just the breadth of, you know, the options that we provide as well. It's we've got access to a large panel of lenders and going across the board. That also helps us to, well, me, in terms of how I operate anyhow, it prevents me from pigeonholing myself into one or a handful of lenders, because if we've got a suite of lenders, I believe that we may as well utilise it. Otherwise, there's no point in having those.
I think this is kind of where there was a recent case, or maybe a case about a year ago, the new player in online sales, you know, property sales, Purple Bricks, got unstuck.
All right.
With, I think it was the ACCC, they got fined because they were pitching no sale, no fee
Oh,
type of marketing, and that wasn't entirely true.
No, I heard that they had to pay. They were locked in up front.
So there was locked in contracts. There was definitely a fee for service, even though you didn't have a successful transaction at all. So there was this kind of thing around disclosure of payment of any fees or upfront costs, even though you haven't actually successfully settled the transaction. So they got fined for that because there was no disclosure, and it's now being corrected because there was massive complaints around that from consumers.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, did you have anything further to add, Deb, or?
well, not right now.
No? Okay.
A whole other episode, I think, on the explanation of why people are actually paying more if they think they're not paying for advice. If they don't pay up front, you'll get trapped. That's my opinion.
We'll take that on board.
Yeah.
Take that on board. So that's hopefully we sort of explained to the audience around payments of the fees and commissions, and where it should be made transparent, and I guess at what point of time as well, I think is important during the course of the transaction.
Yeah, upfront,
well,
being 100% transparent. That way, and I guess it's similar to having knowing that someone, if you are going to be paying them funds, that's in their interest. So having that for commissions, having that upfront, letting everyone know what it is and things like that helps address those issues. It gets difficult when it gets a little bit murky and things like that, and we're not sure, undisclosed amounts and things like that.
You're talking to your accountant, and your accountant says, "Oh, here, go and see, Mr. Blue, because he will look after you." But the accountant's being paid $5,000.
Correct.
Yep. But and that's the thing. I think if the accountant was to say, "Look, I know someone. Their name's Mr. Blue. I am getting paid up front, but."
At least the client knows.
At least they know your position in terms of where it is, and then from there, if they do like their services, they can go ahead, or they can go elsewhere and find their own service. But I think it's
at least they're informed, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Nothing worse than going across, working with Mr. Blue, and then all of a sudden,
knowing there's some
there was some
on.
sort of referral. I think that's where.
And so for the listeners, it's about if you are given a referral by anyone, like if your accountant says go and talk to Mr. Blue,
you have a right to ask.
Yeah, you should say, are you being, Mr. Accountant, are you being paid a referral fee by Mr. Blue?
Yeah, or is there a commercial benefit between the two of
you?
You?
Could be
in
anything.
the nicest words.
Yeah.
Just to point out, Mr. Blue is just an example.
Sorry for all the Mr.
There's a
Blues.
bit of compliance thing happening in the background. It's a fictional character.
Very Blues out there. Okay, so...
All right. Well, thanks for watching. We love your feedback. Please join the Property Mythbusters Facebook group to send us questions or myths you would like busted. You can also contact us directly through our social media channels.
Okay.
Until next time.
Go and get the clicker. Now, I know that I'm supposed to sit here and then move, because it actually helps for editing, apparently.
It does.
That little pause.
The smiling.